Good morning, everybody. Hi, my name is Risha Chande. I'm the Director for Advocacy and Engagement for TOSA East Africa, talking to you here from Dar es Salaam. Apologies first from our Executive Director, Aidene Akuze. He, of course, wanted to be here, but he had another commitment that he couldn't avoid, so you'll have to make do with me. Mine is really just to welcome you, to thank you so much for your time, giving your time to come be with us, especially this close to an election. I know there's a lot going on and a lot of stories to cover, so we're really pleased and honored that you could give some of your time to us. Just a little bit to say about Twaweza. We work in Kenya, Tanzania, and Uganda. We work on sort of addressing two main problems. One is that citizens have sort of limited influence on the decisions that shape their lives. They have limited opportunities for agency in kind of controlling and shaping their own destiny, especially with regards to sort of interacting with government. And then the second problem that we work to address is really the kind of enabling conditions for that citizen agency. So really, civic space, essentially, the freedom of expression, of association, rule of law, all of these issues in the three countries in which we work there's limited opportunities and that civic space is potentially closing. And so here today, we're going to share with you some data from Satu Wananchi, which is one of our kind of major flagship initiatives. The idea is really to provide a kind of fast, cost-effective and accessible way to access citizens' perspectives, especially for kind of policymakers, policy actors, political leaders, but also for kind of the public themselves to sort of kickstart public debate on the basis of representative citizen views. So that's really what we're here today to do today. We're just 5 days before the elections, so we really hope, and the data is very fresh. They were just collected sort of in the last 2 weeks. And so we're really excited to sort of share these with you and have a conversation about what this means for our elections and indeed moving forward. Because as we know, elections are not meant to be just about a one-day event, but they're really kind of around the 5-year cycle. So we hope that the data we have to share will be of interest to you and will be useful as you look to kind of cover the major issues in this election. We really hope that we can help that to happen from sort of where citizens are at and their biggest concerns and the issues they see in front of them around the elections. So thank you very much. I think that's it. Let me hand back over to Sarah. Welcome, and thanks you again for being here. And we're really excited to share these data with you. And allow me just to say that unfortunately I will also have to drop out, but I'm hoping that we'll be recording these proceedings and I'll have a chance to listen in afterwards. Again, thank you so much, and I wish you fruitful discussions. Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. Back to you.
All right, thank you so much, Risha. Thank you for sharing those opening remarks. And just to give us an idea of what kind of event we're having today, as Risha has mentioned, it's through, we're launching new data, right? But this has not been just a Twaweza effort by ourselves. It has been a collaborative effort, and this has been with Uraia Trust, but also with the IEBC, represented here by Madam Amina, who's the voter education manager, as well as Madam Helen, who is the civic engagement manager at Uraia Trust. So you'll be seeing the three of us, and Twaweza East Africa, Kenya office is represented by Dr. James Sierra, and who's about to take the stage to give us this hot new data that we have been referred to so far. So karibu daktari.
Good morning. As you've heard, I'm James Shearer, working for Twaweza East Africa. And it's a privilege to stand before you. We're expecting more people to come. I think we had to start a little bit early. Probably there are a few things our colleagues whom we are invited are doing, and we are quite hopeful that in a short while they'll be around. So today we have the opportunity, a few days, 3 days before the election, at least to get to understand how things are moving on. I remember sometimes back early this year, we had another event similar to this one on how things were moving on, because that's the time when the voter registration process was taking place. So today we have additional information just to update ourselves on how prepared we are to go to the elections. So to start off, we have this program called Sauti za Wananchi, which I shared with you before. And what we normally do is to collect information, not just information, interact with the Wananchi all over the country. And we normally go for topics that are hot, like for instance, you have the election. When you had COVID, we also had to collect data on COVID and all that. So today's presentation of findings are based on whatever is happening that we're heading to the polls. So how are Kenyan citizens' opinion in preparation for the general elections? So it's important for us to get to hear how Kenyans are prepared. And before we get to the details, just to highlight what Sauti za Wananchi program is, it's a tool or a platform that we normally use to collect realities, experiences, perspective, and attitude from Wananchi across the country. So it's quite important for policy makers because these are the evidence they put together and then they can be able to make policies. Another thing that we have also found with Sauti is quite fast because within a very short time we are able to collect information and be able to share with both the government and Wananchi. In terms of accessibility, the information is accessible. We normally publish this data online, so whoever wants to use it can be able to process the data further. And we also provide a mechanism whereby we are able to have policymakers and citizens sit down and be able to discuss the issues that are affecting them, and this helps in terms of service delivery. So what we normally do, as usual, we normally go out, like what I've just said, when you have elections, something that is hot, and we need to get to understand what are citizens' experiences and preparation, attitude, and all that. Then from there, we are able to draft a tool. We have collaborators, as we had mentioned before, so whenever we draft a tool, we sit down. For instance, like this time round, we had Rai on board and IEBC, and then we brainstorm on the questions that we need to poll on. Then from there, we put all this information together. We have a calling center where, because you normally use telephone to call all these people, and then we're able to compile or to put together the data. Then from there, we analyze it, and then we write the report like the one that is in front of you. So after that, we normally have an official launch like the one we are currently having. We also have the publication because it's in hard copy and soft copy. So when you visit our website, Toweza East Africa, you'll be able to have all this information. Then from there, we normally target stakeholders. So we normally have outreach program, like we visit IEBC, we sit down with them, and you're able to share and get to know what needs to be done. So getting to the survey, this time round, we didn't conduct a nationwide survey as we normally do. So we had specific counties that we targeted, especially the multicultural counties like Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Eldoret. And in this particular case, we also, was in issue 2, that's Eldoret. We also wanted to get to know or to hear what is happening in the ASAL, that is arid and semi-arid regions, that is Marsabit, Turkana, Tana River, Mandera, Wajir, and Garissa, because in most surveys, these are the regions that have been underrepresented. So wanted to hear how things are from these regions. This time round, we were able to collect data from 2,800 respondents spread in the regions that I've just mentioned. And the survey was conducted in the last week of July, so like a week before. That's when we were able to collect this information. We used the CATI, that's using the telephone, and the sampling error. So if I say it's 25, so it's plus or minus 2. And we are the ones, together with Uraia Trust, who funded this round. Now, what are the citizens saying? Because that's the key question that we need to hear from the data. Are the citizens aware of the key details of the election? We didn't go to the details, just ask simple questions at least to get to know how citizens are aware of the forthcoming event. And are they registered to vote, and are they intending to vote? Because that's also another question. We asked that question sometimes back, so we just wanted to get to know what has IEBC done, because this is their mandate in terms of tell people what they to do and also ensure that we are all registered. Do citizens have confidence in the ability of the IEBC to conduct the election credibly? And the fourth question is in terms of expectation, because in the past 2 or 3 elections, we have been having violence. So how are things? Do you think, or do citizens things are there? Are they worried? And are they optimistic that such a thing will never happen? So in a nutshell, the presentation is based, or the findings are based on that. Starting off in terms of engagement, getting to know whether the citizens have the basic information. One of them is who is in charge or in terms of coordinating, supervising, and overseeing elections in Kenya, which we know it's IEBC, but maybe that might be something simple to you. But as you can see, we have a small number, around 4% among men and 10% among women who do not know. So it's an issue of awareness, which I think, in my opinion, given that 9 out of 10 of Kenyans are aware, or in these regions are aware that we have IEBC, that's something good. So when you look at the distribution, of course, the age, find those above age of 50 are the ones who seem not to be quite aware of the role of IEBC. Looking at it regionally, it's almost the same, whereby awareness is much more higher. In Kisumu, probably you can be able to relate with whatever has been happening in the campaign. But when you look at the ASAL, like Mandera, Wajir, and Garissa, you can see it's 89%, which is quite low. Probably more has to be done, not only for this, during this time round, probably in the subsequent elections. So we need to have more awareness programs in those regions. In terms of knowing the dates, the statistics are almost the same. Finding more people know about the date, but don't know who is going to be in charge. So because you have higher percentage compared to what we have here. In terms of the age distribution, finds almost the same. The same when you get to the regional, you have higher percentages and all that. And large majority of citizens say that they are registered voters. We asked this question sometimes back in January, of which the percentages were quite low. So I commend IEBC for the work they have done, because in these regions we find the numbers have gone up. In terms of registration, we find we have more men than women, which is expected. It has been, these are similar statistics that we have collected before. And the same thing with age distribution, those above age of 50. We also observe the same here, especially among the youths. You see, it's 91% compared to 99%. Yeah, there's some improvement, because previously it was less than 50. Less than 75. So there's a big improvement. In terms of regional distribution, it's almost the same, but we have, like in Nakuru, it's slightly low. Okay. Yeah, so as you can see, things look quite impressive compared to how things were in January. Likelihood of voting seems to have gone up, because we find we have 93% of men compared to 85% among women. So when you consider the sampling error, the plus or minus 2, so there's a significant gap between men and women. Looking at it regional, based on the age group, those above age of 50 are likely to vote. And when you consider regional variation, the percentages seems to be slightly high. They're quite high in some regions, but in places like Nairobi, you find we have 83%. I think I'm correct. Is it 83? Yes, compared to 96% of those who have registered as voters. So to me, it's a kind of quite improvement, because last year the statistics were quite low. Yeah, importance of voting. Why do we have to vote? Because that's also another key important reason which compels people to register and also to vote. some of the responses that we got, it's my democratic right. Basically, when you compared with all the reasons that were given, that's what had the highest percentages, because you have 49 among men and 47 among women. Now, when you look at across the age group, it's almost the same, although as we had seen before, among the youths, the values are slightly low or significantly lower compared to other age groups. Looking at the regional variations, we find in Mandera, it's 44%, which is quite low compared to Nairobi, which is at 50. But generally, most people think voting is something good, and the reason why to participate is because you're exercising your democratic right. But I think more has to be done. The second reason to elect those, I believe, will bring change. From what we have seen, because the percentage in the neighborhood of 46% is a clear indicator. It's like trust is winning among Kenyans. Because in my expectation, if the people that we have elected really did something, we could be getting this value in the neighborhood of 90%, but now it's at 30 and 40%, of which men seems to be more optimistic compared to women. Looking at age group, those above age of 50, and when you look at regional distribution, we have low percentages in the ASA region compared to other regions. Then the other reason that was given why we have to vote is to change the country destiny. Yeah, it's 3 out of 10 of the respondents say that the reason why they have to vote. So the percentages are quite low. And the other one is to hold those I vote to be accountable. The percentages are still low, which clearly indicates no wonder we have, in some, particularly among the youths, that's why they're not willing to go and vote, because they're not confident in the people they are going to vote. Probably they don't have someone whom they think can be able to deliver. Although it's their democratic right, but if it's not serving the purpose, then it kind of demotivates them to go and vote. Yeah, significant number of citizens are politically active, because when we consider the reason why we have to vote, we also want to know whether is it because they are not motivated by the people they are who are vying for this post, or do they interact among themselves, of which you find the percentage to be high, like almost 85% among men compared to 81%. So around 8 out of 10 do discuss with their friends and families about the forthcoming election. In terms of rally attendance, almost around half, or around 50%, particularly among women compared to men. When you look at the regional variation, we have high rally attendance in places like Nairobi, which are the one, and also Mandera, Turkana, but we have low turnout in places like Nakuru. And the other one was the campaign by word of mouth or social media. It's not all that high compared to others, but it's like it got higher values compared to those other reasons. Yeah, what are we saying about the candidates? Because from what we have seen, we are not all that motivated. Kenyans are not all that motivated by the candidates who are vying for different seats. So in this case, we found that there is a small but significant minority of citizens reporting post-election-related violence. So what we did is to ask them, do you think that the upcoming election will be conducted fairly, or do you think that the likelihood of election-related violence? So from what we have here, okay, I think there was a mix-up of slides. Yeah, so from what we are seeing, a small but significant minority of citizens reported some election malpractice. For instance, we had instances whereby people were promised some gifts if they vote for a particular candidate. So we found, although it wasn't all that rampant, of which, in my opinion, it's an improvement compared to how things have been before, but we found that in Nairobi, around 12% of people who are going to vote say that they had been promised gifts so that they can vote for a particular candidate, of which you find that in Nakuru, it's slightly high compared to other places, but when you compare to Kisumu, whereby it's 10%. So, and then when you look at the second reason, that threatened with violence, which the values are quite small, and this clearly indicates that people think that there will be no occurrence of the previous post-election violence as we had had before. They were told to register in as many places, and something that politicians do, but we found it scored quite low compared to other reasons. So in my opinion, citizens seems to have confidence with the process, because malpractice is one of the ways politicians do to make other people not get votes and all that. So in this time round, we found in these regions, things are not as bad as they have been before. Yeah, citizens say that they prioritize a politician's record over their ethnicity when evaluating their candidates. So one of the reasons that scoped the highest in terms of choice of candidates was someone has to have a good development record, which scored quite highly, like almost 9 out of 10 of citizens think that having a good track record determines that this person will get votes. The second one, never been involved in corruption. So that's also another key aspect that citizens look at when they decide on their choosing the candidate to vote for, which also scored highly, 8 out of 10. The other one was 9 out of 10. This one at 8 out of 10. Then the other one, which was around 7 out of 10, was active on national matters. So previously, before devolution, this used to be an important aspect, but nowadays, because of devolution, we found this percentage getting a little bit lower. Then the other one is endorsed by, endorsement also played some significant role, but not as much as we have seen with the other reasons. In terms of regional distribution, it's almost the same. So it's not, doesn't matter where you come from, where you are vying, the percentages are the same. So what citizens are looking for are people who can be able to help them, or who can deliver in terms of the promises they are made, and they have track record that they have been able to deliver this and this and this. Okay, most citizens say that voters should never elect those who are accused of corruption, or even if they have a good development record. Previously found development or having a good track record was an important factor, but from what we are seeing here, for instance, we asked them, how much do you agree or disagree with the following statement, that Kenya should never vote for a politician who has been accused of corruption, even if had a good performance in the government. So it's 7 out of 10 of citizens think someone who has good track record and has not been implicated in any corruption has to be elected. So when you look at it regionally, we found, like in Nairobi, which scored lowly at 67% compared to regions like Mandera and Wajir, where we have over 75%. Then the other question, that Kenyans can accept somebody who has a good track record but has been involved in corrupt business. It is scored lowly, as you can see, but when you look at regional variation, we find there are regions that scored higher and some that scored lowly. Nairobi had 31 compared to Mombasa at 29. So whom do we trust? Do we trust the process? Do we trust the people or the agency that is conducting the election? And most of the citizens think that election-related violence in 2022 is unlikely. To me, it's sounds quite good, and probably we can be able to see. Remember, during the previous election, during such a time, we had a crisis in the public transportation. But this time round, although it's there, but it's not as it has been there before. So, which is quite evident from what we are seeing, and whereby just 13% of citizens, around 12.5%, think that we are going to have a recurrence of this kind of issues. Looking at the age group, we find we have high chances among who think that it will happen among those aged between 18 and 24. And when you look at it regionally, those who live in Nairobi think that the chances to have post-election related violence compared to places like Nakuru, where we have, which is called quite lowly, and Mombasa. But when you consider Mandera, Turkana, they think probably might be having likelihood of having post-election violence. But the region or the county that recorded the highest was Nairobi. Many citizens lack confidence in IEBC. From what we have seen, because we find it's around 6%, for instance, because you also ask on an array of issues like ensuring that election will be free and fair, counting votes will be done in an honest way, reporting true results, and clearing candidates for run of the office. So looking at what we have here, the statistics, 6 out of 10, you find it's a big improvement, almost 50%, because I remember during the previous release, it was at 45%, below 45%. Now, when you compare 61, that's a big improvement, which I think we comment on what they have done during the past 6 months. So in terms of counting, we find 6 out of 10 of Kenyans from these regions think it will be done in an honest way. Looking at the distribution across the age, those above 50 kind of think they are somewhat pessimistic compared to those who are aged 35 and 49. Looking at it regionally, we found those who live in Nairobi are more optimistic that it will be done in an honest way compared to those who live in Mombasa, as well as those who live in Wajir. So in terms of trusting the process, you find those who live in Nairobi trust IEBC that they'll be able to do it in an honest way compared to other regions. Reporting the true results, we find high percentages in Nakuru, Uasin Gishu, and low percentages in Kisumu and Mombasa. Most citizens are satisfied with how IEBC has handled the pre-election procedures. From what we have seen, it's 7 out of 10 of Kenyans think that the nomination process was conducted fairly. Looking at the age group, those aged below 24, probably because they have access, in a way they must participated in these processes. Looking at it regionally, find Nairobi was leading with 74%. I think that's why we have most of the activities compared to other regions like Nakuru, Kisumu, that scored quite lowly compared to other places. In terms of clearance, candidate clearance, it's quite important to remember what we had in Nairobi, and I think that's why it is scored quite highly, 7 out of 10. You remember the governor's seat that had a few issues, and I think IEBC did a good job, which was, I think it was fair. Looking at it across the age, we find those below 18 to 24 think that the clearance process was conducted in the right way. Many citizens think that the upcoming election will be marred by fraud and voter tampering. This is the post-election activities, which I think in Kenya, that's what determines whether we are going to have violence or not. But from what we are finding here, like half of the Kenyans, because what we did is to ask from your own observation and analysis, how are things going to be unlikely that the general election will be free from fraud? So around half of the citizens think it might happen, or voter tampering will happen. And when you look at the, in terms of age distribution, it's almost the same. So in Nakuru, we have the highest, where people think that there'll be some malpractice, followed by Nairobi, we have Mombasa and Kisumu. This other region, the ASA region, scored quite lowly, where they think the process will be fairer compared to other regions. Most citizens agree that participants will work to protect the integrity of the election because the government has a share in terms of ensuring the process will be done in the right way. But now on the other side, we have other stakeholders like the media, private and public, voters themselves. We also have observers from different countries, and we have the domestic and the international. So the one that scored highly is the government media. So wananchi think that stations like IEBC and others will be able to report fairly. From what we have, it's 8 out of 10 among citizens in these regions. In terms of distribution in age, we have those aged between 16 and 24 have more confidence with the government media. When you look at the age distribution according to regions, we find it's fairly the same, but it's slightly low in Nairobi. In terms of private media, whether they do a good job, they have slightly lower. And I tend to think probably it depends on where you are aligned to, or the owner of the media house is aligned to. Probably that's why it is scored a little bit low compared to the government media. And voter will protect vote counting because wananchi normally meet around the counting stations. So we found that half of the wananchi think that wananchi will do their part in terms of ensuring that counting process happens in a fair way. And then in terms of observers, many citizens think that local international observers will do a better job compared to domestic observers. But from what we are seeing here, it's, people have a lot of trust on different stakeholders in terms of ensuring that the election is done in the right way. Most Kenyans, or most citizens, see hate speech as a serious problem in Kenya. In the previous election, hate speech is the one that triggered post-election violence. And we had to ask this question to get to know citizens' opinion whether is it a serious problem in Kenya. I think we have different agencies that have done some commendable work to ensure that even when you send an email, Facebook and all that, it's tagged and all that, and it's flagged off. So from what we are seeing here, almost around 6 out of 10 of from this region think it's a serious problem in Kenya. Yes, when you look at the percentage across the age groups, it's the same. When you look at it regionally, we find those in Uasin Gishu scoring slightly low compared to those in Nairobi, of which probably more sensitization has to happen, and probably in other rural counties, we might be having more percentages compared to others. But generally, Kenyans think hate speech is a serious issue in Kenya. Probably in the next election, because more work will be done, not only from the government side, but from other stakeholders, we expect these percentages to go above 80%. Reasons why hate speech is a problem, because we need just ask whether they think it's a problem. We also had to ask why. For instance, like hate speech fuels ethnic conflicts, like it happened in the Rift Valley sometimes back. Wananchi think there is a strong correlation between the two, hate speech and ethnic conflict. It's more among men. Men think that it's there's a strong relationship, but when you look at it across the age, we have almost constant percentages. When you look at it across regions, Mombasa scored the highest with Mandera, Turkana scored the highest, followed by Mombasa. The one that had the least is Kisumu, and Mandera, Wajir, and Garissa. So readers are disrespecting each other, because when you spread hate speech, it's like you're trying to demonize probably a particular tribe, a particular candidate, and all that. It came as number 2, although it's 3 out of 10. who think that leaders, when they employ hate speech, it's like a disrespect to others. It emerge as number 2. And then number 3, social media posts are spreading hatred. It's out of 10 think social media has been used to spread this hate speech. And this is quite common across the age groups. It's around 20. We don't have big variations. The same thing when you look at different regions. Leaders are not held accountable. So it has happened before whereby you hear someone saying this, and then the government doesn't take action. But I'm happy that the percentages are now getting to low as 17 or 16%, of which at some times back it was quite high. So basically, citizens or Kenyans think hate speech is a problem, and some of the reasons why is a problem because it triggers ethnic conflicts in terms of the means used to spread them, and in terms of respect among candidates. And we have this agency called NCIC that has played a major role, of which, from what we see, the percentages are quite low, in that they are doing a good job in terms of ensuring that Kenyans do not spread hate speech. Citizens' main source of information on election matters is the national television. So we also asked the same, and we got, the results were quite consistent, where the TV has been the means in which citizens get information. We look at gender-wise, fairly the same, almost 6 out of 10. Looking at it across the age group, those aged above 50. So if your target is those above age of 50, you need to use the national radio compared to the national TV. They scored quite lowly compared to other age group. And when you look at it regionally, which is expected because probably transmission around the Asa region or the semi-arid area, which is at 51%, you find we have to use other means compared to regions like Nairobi and Mombasa, Kisumu, where we have high numbers. Social media has also been a tool as the main source of information. It's at 2 out of 10 of people say that they use social media to access information. It's more among men compared to women. In terms of age group, as expected, those aged below 34 tend to use social media more compared to those above 50. It's at 5%. And when you look at it regionally, which to me it was a surprise, 23% being registered in Wajir and Garissa, compared to Nairobi at 18%. Uasin Gishu scored the least, the same thing with Marsabit. But generally, social media became as number 2 tool in which wananchi receive information. The national radio was more used among those aged above 50 years, and also in the Asa region, Mandera, Turkana, and Tana River. We also have the community radios that scored slightly lowly compared to others, and word of mouth, it's at 1%. So basically, if you have to pass in information about election, the TV would be the ideal channel to use. And now, in summary, there are a few things that we have found from these results, that citizens reported that they themselves are ready for the election in terms of getting to know who is going to conduct the election, and in terms of the dates when the elections will happen. And also the agency and their functions were reported to be some of the ways in which we gauge that awareness level among citizens is high. Citizens have significant concern around the integrity of the election. As you have seen, one starting with the people they are going to vote, where someone has to have a track record in terms of what he has done in the past. And corruption also played a major role in terms of deciding whom to elect. Most citizens say that they are not expecting substantial violence at this election, which is something that is commendable. And I'm quite happy with what Kenyans have done in terms of ensuring that. And I hope this will happen, or the results will reflect what will happen in the next 2 or 3 weeks. So they are more confident now than 5 years ago, and broadly happy with how IEBC has handled the major election processes this far in terms of voter registration, the nomination or the process that they conducted a few weeks ago and all that. So they did a commendable job, and no wonder the approval rating has gone from 45% to above 60%. Nevertheless, citizens do report a serious problem with hate speech in Kenya, found that, either related to ethnic conflict and or to leaders disrespecting one another. So that's one of the aspects which correlates mostly with hate speech, because it might lead to clashes and all that. And in terms of respecting one another, it's a clear indicator that the employing tactics that will not show any, doesn't portray respect among the people vying for different seats. Social media is identified as a bigger problem in this regard than local TV and radio, which to me, there's no regulation late last year. In terms of confidence in IEBC, issues to do with post-election, because we thought that it was at that time when people thought that there would be no violence. But it has been consistent that from the way things are, the chances of having post-election violence are low. So from what we're saying, and as we head towards the election, we are quite hopeful that everything will be done in a fair way. And I believe the people who will get this position will be able to deliver on their promises. Thank you, and God bless you.
All right, that was good. So we give a better clap to Dr. Sierra. Tafadhali. All right, so thank you so much. Now that is the first part of this particular event, and we'll take on the next part, which is to introduce. I'm sorry, I know you might have questions. Please hold on to them, and we'll come back to them. Please take a pen, keep a note of them, and then we'll come back to those ones. So, Daktari, please be ready when we have that chance. For now, allow me to invite Helen. Helen is from Uraia Trust, and she is the manager of civic education. Karibu.
Dr. James Sierra and Amina Sood from IEBC. Ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. It gives me pleasure to be in this forum this morning, to be part of the people who are receiving the hot data now that we are just a few days before the elections. My name is Helen Mdora. I'm the Civic Education Manager at Uraia Trust. And Uraia, just like the name suggests, is an organization for citizens. It's a public benefit organization. Our work revolves around adherence to the Constitution. So since the Constitution 2010 came into place, we've been educating the citizens about their rights, but also more importantly, about their responsibilities. And now that we've been in the last stretch to the 2022 elections, since the beginning of the year, our work has been centered more around voter education, because definitely our citizens need to know why, how, what about voting. And I'm glad that this study almost confirms that our civic education did not go to waste, and that the citizens are aware of many things. Our approach in civic education and civic engagement is, one, we work through implementing partners. We receive funding on behalf of many civil society organizations, and then we work in different areas in in democratic governance. You know, issues of gender equality, issues of governance, engaging with devolution and in our counties, issues of media. So we have a myriad of programs that are running with different organizations who we work with. We also have civic educators on the ground, and we have about 1,000 civic educators in all the 290 constituencies. And we've actually been doing civic education from February and until now, even it is still going on. We also have media-based voter education, which we have been doing with national radio stations, and the data now tells us now we need to focus probably on television more, or other forms of engagement. But we've been using about 4 or 5 national radio stations to do our media-based civic education. I want to say that elections are a very important pillar in democratic governance, because voting is a political entitlement for all Kenyan citizens, those who are above 18 years, and it provides an opportunity for citizens to have a say in choosing leaders who will represent them. You know, the Constitution allows us as citizens to participate in political processes, to form parties, to participate in party activities, to get elected, and to also get out and elect those who have offered themselves for elections. Therefore, I want to thank the researchers and Twaweza in general, because of generating this data. The data helps us in shaping not just our programs as organizations that are working with citizens, but also it can inform policy. I am sure for IEBC, the data has a lot of information that will strengthen the electoral cycle processes, and in future, and even in the coming elections, I am sure even with the 5 days, there are things that IEBC is likely to intervene based on this data that has just come out. I have noted that from a civic education manager perspective, I am happy to see that the citizens have understood the importance of voting. And they even go ahead and give reasons why they should vote, why they think they should vote. And over 50% of them saying that it is their democratic right to vote, and others to say about choosing good leaders. So all those explanations that the citizens have provided, for us, I think it stamps the mark that our civic education has been consistent and is helping the citizens to understand why they need to vote. I love the fact that there's even social mobilization, and that we have seen citizens have participated in political rallies and in campaigns, because that's what an election process is. So the election process will not be complete if citizens did not come out and attend rallies. And of course, we say they attend rallies and hope that they can maintain peace. We are seeing that citizens are expressing their political opinion even on social media. From a Uraia perspective, what we would ask the citizens is to have restraint and tolerance for other people's opinion. I hope we can reach a point in Kenya where we can discuss the issues that our leaders are putting ahead rather than the personalities. Let's look at what the leaders are telling us they are going to do for us, and we vote them, one, based on their track record, and secondly, what they are promising to do. And immediately after the elections and they have won, we start holding them to account for the manifestos that they have presented to us. So as Uraia, we are preparing, our implementing partners on the ground to do civic engagements. I know a lot of times we focus more on the presidential election, but remember, we are having new governors coming in. Therefore, we need our citizens to be aware of county processes that are going to happen immediately after the elections when the new counties come in. Our new counties are going to form their, their development plans. And if citizens don't participate, they're usually left with the process. And the plan is done for 5 years. So that means if they don't engage immediately after elections, they will be left completely. So we do hope that over and above the presidential, position that we are all looking at, our governors, our MCAs, our women representatives, our members of parliament, those are the ones who are very close to us, and we need to vote wisely even for these people and make sure that we vote people who can move our counties to greater heights. I have seen from this study, people talking about, attributes of good leaders. as a key component of why they are going to vote. And I really do hope that on 9th, they will vote based on attributes of a good leader, as they have stated in this study. And nothing else like ethnicity will override the fact that you want to have a good leader. The voter confidence on IEBC. I have seen also their indications. It has improved, but then, of course, there are issues around it, and I don't envy IEBC at this point, because they are the referee, and with every game, the referee is always, on a very difficult position. I want to believe that IEBC knows everything they are doing, and the public confidence needs to be strengthened. And I think in the next few days, we hope that IEBC can come out. For the few that are having mistrust on the process, IEBC can come out and strongly make statements that will make the Mwananchi be confident that the process is going to be above board. And then also we have seen that citizens have put their faith in the media and election observers to protect the integrity of the ballot, with over 75% of them saying they are depending on the media and election observers. So the media, you have a huge responsibility in protecting this ballot and election observers. And I'm happy that, through our voter education, citizens now are aware that we have election observers. Actually, as we tell them, vote and go home and wait for the results, because we have observers and party agents who will be at the station looking at the vote and following on the other processes. So it is very crucial and imperative that election observers and the media play their role effectively. So I want to thank Twaweza Nisisi, because the research has come in when all the information we are receiving mostly is about opinion polls. And you see, opinion polls is about who is going to win. So this study, I think it shifts that thinking, and now we are seeing the citizen voice. The data has brought out the citizen voice, and is giving the citizens a voice in terms of what issues are very important for the citizens. And I do hope in future we can have more of these studies coming out, so that the citizen is not getting a lot of information on opinion polls, however important they are, but also having a balanced, data on what the citizen is saying. So finally, I just want to thank Danida through the Royal Danish Embassy for supporting this particular work on civic education and promoting democracy, because it's through this funding that we've been able to do this program together with Twaweza Nisisi. Otherwise, I want to thank you very much, and our rallying call is get out and vote wisely. God bless you.
The rallying call is get out and vote wisely. Thank you so much, Madam Helen, for those very insightful comments. Now we will go to Madam Amina, who is the Voter Education Manager at the IEBC, to first of all share a bit of what the IEBC is doing in terms of preparedness with just 3 days to the elections, and then now we will take on the questions for the three speakers. Madam Amina.
Good morning once again. And I won't say all protocols observed. This time it's so big for me. Thank you so much, Twaweza. Thank you, Dr. James. Thank you, Helen. This is so big for IBC. I've been going around to all the TV stations, not knowing kumbe I was doing something very big, because that is what we have seen from the results of your baseline survey of what is happening now. They've been doing this in last year, and I got like, this is what is happening with Kenyans. I felt so bad in the first report, yeah? And now at least I feel happy. I can stand straight, as Helen was saying. We've done something. We can clap for ourselves. And for Kenyans, I'm so proud of you. At least now we know who we are talking to. You know what you need. That is very important, because you cannot go to the ballot not knowing what you are doing. And for us, we've been updating Kenyans every day from Saturday. At 2 p.m., we update every day. So for now, what I can say, we are almost ready. We are just waiting for 9th, and we hit it. And I hope everybody will come out and vote for the candidates they are interested to do. For something else, so many people have been supporting us, so many partners. There's another one, as Raia was saying, theirs is Tujitokeze. There's another one also called G-Tokeze, G underscore and then Tokeze. And they have an HTTPS where you can see all your reps from your MCA for the 16,000 candidates. HTTPS nextrep.mzalendo.com. There you can scroll and see who your rep in your area is, their profile, their ideology, and then you can choose. I like the idea that we were told by Helen. We don't go choosing because he's my friend, he's my neighbor, no, you choose by their ideologies. Or maybe they're so beautiful, the picture is looking beautiful. Some people vote for just that. You won't believe it. So I'm happy that we are all here, and I think we are almost very well prepared, even for the disabled. We've tried to do Braille for them. Most of the voter education posters and materials were done in Braille. And for the deaf, we trained their sign language interpreters. And we have an application called Assist All. So anyone can go to the Assist All and get a sign language interpreter who they want, and they can be interpreted the voter education materials. So we have done a lot, but if there are any questions, we are here, the three of us. You can still ask us. Thank you.
So I think now we get a chance to ask all questions that we might have had. Online, we are also thinking about you. And if you have a question, you can write it on chat, or please put your hand up, and then we'll be able to see you. But for now, as we take on the questions, I'd like to see if you have any questions in the room first. Any questions to the speakers? I think it's wise that we have. Is it okay for the media? Do we want them to sit here, or it's okay that they respond to the questions as wherever they are? Okay. All right. So let's start with please tell us what your name is and which media house you represent.
My name is Judah Benham from KTN News. The survey actually shows that many Kenyans are saying that ethnicity is not the main reason why they are voting. But when you look at the data from the TIFA polls, from the InfoTrack polls, you'd notice that the leading presidential candidates, most of them have immense support from their native regions. So how does that translate to this? I was also doing a story the other weekend. When you ask Kenyans whether ethnicity is their main motivation in politics, they often deny. So how can we establish whether that's true or false? Because the results often paint a different picture.
All right, that's a good question, Jude. Yeah, so the issue of ethnicity, and really if it at all affects the way people vote. Who would you like to respond to that question? Is that Dr. James? Okay. Sawa, do we have another question in the room? Or Dr. James, do you want to take that question first? All right, over to you on the stage.
Thank you for that question. From what we have the figure 6 where we have the findings. In a way, it plays some role because we don't have 0%. But on the other side, yes, because you have two front runners from different communities. And from what we are seeing, yes, it is playing some role, but we have other fundamental reasons why Kenyans would want a certain person to be their leader. Besides the ethnicity, because you find, let's say, for instance, a Luo choosing a Kalenjin, So it's not like a big issue compared to how things were before. We did some previous surveys of which ethnicity came as number one. But besides that, we have other factors. We have endorsement, which we have also seen featuring here. Besides that, what this candidate has done to our community. So yes, ethnicity is just one particular, but when you look at it broadly and we combine all the issues, we find it's coming out because, for instance, if a certain candidate has promised to do ABCD, it's because of, I belong to this tribe, that's why it has to happen. In terms of endorsement, who is endorsing me? So that's also part of it. But so what we have done here, we have tried to desegregate, as in look at the graduate, all the details in terms of ethnicity. Because when you look at it from a bigger perspective, you might not get the real picture. But for those who vote because this person comes from my tribe, that doesn't mean a lot. But given that my candidate or the person from my tribe is not represented there, but whoever is there, has he promised to do something? So that's also another aspect. So in a summarized way, I can say it's also playing role, but we have other factors that also determine in terms of choice of the person to vote for. Thank you.
Many thanks to you, Dr. James, for responding to that question. And Josh, would you tell me if there are any questions virtually? No, not yet. Okay, but Madam Helen has a question, so please.
Thank you very much. I forgot one thing about the media. The study shows that television is the most efficient, or the most effective way, or many people get information through TV as opposed to radio and community radio. That's a very interesting turn of events because for a long time, radio has always been like the main medium where people get the news. And then we are also cognizant of the fact that maybe the TV reach might not be as much as radios, Probably more people own radios more than TV. Radio is mobile. You use it on your phone, on your car, so you are able to listen to it more frequently probably than TV. But the study shows otherwise. But then, my challenge then is to the media. The media has the role to inform, to educate, and to entertain. But we're finding the media, in Kenya in particular, has taken the entertainment bit more than the education and the information. And then now media space is very expensive. It is very expensive to run a campaign on media, and television in particular. So I'm not sure how we are going to handle this. We are challenging the media to also start taking its role and mandate seriously and give Kenyans more time for education and information as much as we do entertainment, because we set the agenda. The media sets the agenda. If the media took this electoral process seriously and educated Kenyans for the next 5 years, I think the next election, we will be having a very, very informed citizenry. So TV is very expensive, and that's why organizations who want to do public education through television find it, a bit challenging. So I wish we could do partnerships, a 50-50 kind of partnerships maybe, but I think public education is even a right that Kenyans should get. So this is a challenge also to media stations to take up civic and voter education more seriously in their programming, as opposed to a lot of entertainment and less education. And when you want to do education, civil society, government, and other agencies are forced to pay to educate Kenyans to do that. So I think that's a discussion that is going to be very interesting in the next few months. Thank you.
It's a challenge that has been thrown to all of us present in this room. And so let's see how we take that challenge forward beyond the Tuesday 9th elections. So let's see, do we have more questions in the room? No? And not virtually? No. Okay, then it looks like we are having an early close of this particular event. But let me see if we have any last words from Madam Amina, from James, and from Madam Helen. Would you want to take the stage for any last words, Dr. Harry? Or do we start with you, Madam Helen? Who's ready? Okay, Madam Helen, I will ask you to hold it right there. We have one more question, and then we can let you in. So who? A question? Okay. May we please get a mic for Josiah?
There is a question on chat from James Ogutu, and he's saying, most often this study reaches out to the enlightened community members with access to better internet, TV, and other social media access. How did the study consider opinion from the rural areas with such deficiency? And I think this is directed to Dr. James. Thank you.
All right. James, do you want to take it on? The issue about reach, are we only targeting the people who have access to internet and the elites and forgetting the people who have issues with internet connectivity and reach? So,
Thank you very much for that question. From the findings in terms of sources of information, we had to ask more questions in terms of access, because we understand like the ASA area where we don't have access to internet, it's a problem. And that's why from the findings found that we have community radios and national radios, of which like, for instance, like in Marsabit, it had 23% compared to Nairobi, 13%. So from what we are finding here, yes, is a challenge of which you can't be able to address now. But in terms of how do these people access the information, we find that we have national radio which can be able to reach them. And in terms of influencing them or getting to get their opinion, probably that's the tool that can fit such community. But I need to acknowledge it's an issue, not only when you look at the geographical distribution, but even when it comes to age, because you find those aged above 50 years, in terms of access to social media, it's like, they're scored lowly. The same thing with women and other things. So that's something that's a challenge, but we have alternative means which can be used to reach these people. Thank you. So as mentioned before, the sampling process was purposive because our focus was to look at what is happening on hotspot regions. We have, where we have had post-election violence, that is Nakuru, Eldoret, Mombasa, Kisumu, and Nairobi. So in particular, we paid specific attention to these counties. And in terms of, we have sufficient sample size in these, there are 5 regions. And we had other interests in terms of getting to know what's happening in the ASA region, because these are some of the regions that have been neglected. And in terms of campaign, like what you have seen, because mostly we've been focusing on television in terms of reaching out to them. But from what you have seen here, for us to be able to target them and be able to communicate or to make information get there effectively, we have to use other means. So we did it purposively, and I need also to reiterate what I mentioned before. This is not a national survey. So in terms of looking at it, urban, rural, even from the findings, we do not have or disaggregate data by that, because of that one of the main objective is just to focus on that. But even within the counties, we paid more attention to the urban areas where we have, with ethnicity and all that, it happens where we have people from different communities. In the rural areas where we have like people from a particular community, the interest was not on that, because in many cases it doesn't happen. But where you have people from this and this other community living together, it'd be easy for us to get to know what are the expectations after the election. So it was a purposive survey, of which issues to do with urban rural was not a major key reason why we have to conduct the survey. Thank you.
Thank you so much, James. I'm trying to still figure out if we have thought of more questions to ask at this juncture, but I still do not see any hand. So we will take on the closing from the 3 of our speakers today. So Madam Helen, I will invite you to take the stage first, and then I'll come to you, Dr. James, and then we'll close with Madam Amina.
So in closing, our appeal is to the leaders who will be elected, first, to live to the expectation of the voters. You will recall that early in the year when IEBC was doing voter registration, people did not want to come out and register, especially the youth. There's general voter apathy. And the voter apathy seems to stem from the fact that people don't see the value of electing leaders who then go in and don't do what they said they were supposed to do. And a lot of the youth also feel like they are creating jobs for political leaders when they themselves don't have jobs. So that has been an ongoing discussion. And we do hope that the leaders who will be elected will really live up to the expectation of the youth and the other citizens. We also hope that everybody will maintain peace, and we hope that in the final stretch of the campaigns, we hope that our leaders will promote peace so that Kenyans live together, because we have a country to hold together even after the 9th. So we do hope that we will maintain peace, and we are calling upon citizens to maintain peace and cohesion. We are asking citizens to get out and vote, because every vote counts. Every vote counts. And we know that especially with the presidential election, every vote counts. The 50+1, formula requires that as many people get out and vote. And we hope that we can have a clear winner, especially in the first round. Because bad leaders are elected by good people who don't go out to vote. So we will complain for the next 5 years about our bad leaders if we don't go out and vote. Our motto for this campaign has been, Kiongozi bora ni jukumu langu. So I hope you get out and choose the right leader. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I think we've done a good job, we as citizens, because ni sisi, in terms of getting to know why you have to vote, and not just going there to vote. We have valid reasons why we have to participate in this democratic activity. When it gets to leaders, yes, they have promised, but the other thing that they need to understand is that citizens are looking upon them on what they had promised. Unlike before, when we could just elect anyone, given that he or she comes from a tribe, things have changed, and citizens now look at other issues in terms of a track record. Issues to do with corruption seems to be playing a major reason why we vote them in or out. And in terms of what the IEBC has done in terms of ensuring the process has moved on well, it's quite commendable. As I've said before, the approval rate was at 45%. Now it's above 60%, which is something good. And I believe there is more room for improvement. Probably in terms of awareness and all that, I think the 2027 election, things will be far much better than now. I also want to commend the government in terms of handling the process, because we have issues to do with hate speech. They have agencies that are there to get to see what people are saying over the social media and all that. I think it's quite commendable, because in terms of many citizens think that there will be no election violence, unlike what has happened before. Another thing is the media. They also done a commendable job in terms of ensuring that there is less in terms of, their leaders, when they get to the station, they start promoting a few negative issues, which has not been happening recently. So that's something that has happened. Now, my biggest challenge to the government and to all stakeholders is on what is happening among the youths, because there seems to be, they are quite demotivated. Now, I'm trying to project, especially for those aged between 18 and 34. Now, if apathy levels are high at this moment, how will it be 25 years from now? Because by then, they'll be around 40-something. So I'm trying to ask myself, by then, how will the youths of those days be if currently this is how things are? Now, our leaders have, I think, to reinvent themselves in terms of selling their SERA policy and all that. They need to capture more and deliver more, given that over 75% of Kenyans are youths. So it's like they are underrepresented in one or another. So we need to have youthful leaders who are able to target in terms of delivering on issues that affect the youths. But I think in the next few years, all these things will be well addressed. And I hopeful and praying that we are going to have a peaceful election. Thank you.
Thank you,
Madam
all of
Amina,
us.
perhaps as you're finalizing, I wanted to ask one last question.
Okay, do ask.
The survey offers us some insight that many citizens lack confidence in IEBC. Maybe you can let us know from your kind of analysis of the electorate, why do they feel like we don't trust IEBC? 40% is a really huge proportion of the voters.
I hear you, and I know we've been working on it. We are from very far. We are from very far. It was 40% trust, it was very low. Now we have grown to 60 something. I feel people have started understanding us. I know that there was so much propaganda before then, and it's still continuing. There's so much propaganda around. You can imagine the positions that are going to be held are only 1,882. And the aspirants or the candidates are 16,000. So 14,000 are not going to be those positions. So the negativity in the country will be too much. We have to work on it also as post-election activities. And we are trying. I'm so happy that Twaweza has supported us this much, even Uraia and the many, many partners that are working with us. And I hope by then they'll all be our ambassadors for voter education. I just wanted to share something on the timelines after 9th. After 9th, we'll have 7 days to give the results. And also for the presidential, that is. But for the other positions, the two, MNA and MCA, it will be immediate. And then for the other three, it will be at the county level. After that, for the presidential, they will have 7 days if they are not happy with the results to go to court. If they go to court and they win, then we have 60 days to prepare for fresh elections. But if everything goes on well and the 50+1 is not reached, or the 24 counties, minimum of 24 counties, don't get to 25%, then we'll have to go for a rerun. And the rerun will take us for 30 days. So I wanted to share with you the timelines, and for the media, if you want, I will give you in a written way. I also want to thank the media. Let me tell you, the last 2 months, I have not sat on my office table. I've always been in this media, in that media, and especially TV medias. I want to thank you so much. This is an opportunity that I can share with you. You've given us a lot of airtime and sometimes even prime time. So I'm happy that you're doing this. Madam Helen, they've done it. And I'm happy the timing was also good, because this is next to election. Because if I had told them 2 months ago, maybe they would have forgotten. But I've been doing this all through. From here, I'm going to another one. So I'm happy that you're doing this for us. And I'm happy that Kenyans have woken up. They have understood why they should go to vote. So I'm praying that on 9th, kindly Kenyans, come out, vote. And let me say this in Kiswahili. Manake wengi wao ni hawa Kiswahili kuliko hichi kizungu kingi. Tafadhalini jitokezeni, muje mupige kura tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8. Na mkisha kupiga kura, tafadhalini rudini majumbani. Hawa watu wa TV, watu wa redio, wote watakuwa wako hapo wakikutukulia hizi habari zote, wakikuletea sitting room yako. Kwa hivyo huna haja ya kusimama nje na kungojea kuleta fujo au kungojea ati wayaokoa matokeo yako. Matokeo ushayaokoa. Kule kupiga kura ushayaokoa. Na piga kura alama moja peke yake. Shukran, na inshallah tuonane tarehe 9 mwezi wa 8. Karibuni.
Looks like we are coming to a close, but before then, I would like to request Dr. James, Madam Amina, and Madam Helen to please join me on the stage to just do the actual launching, so Dr. James and Madam Amina, tafadhali. And our media partners, you can let us or guide us and know which is the best spot for us to do that. Pardon? Okay. Okay, then let's allow our virtual participants to then go, and then we can be left doing that. Is that okay? All right. To our virtual participants, this is to really thank you for sparing the time to join us in this particular meeting. And please continue engaging with us on social media on Uraia Trust and IEBC and Twaweza Kenya. The hashtag is democracia2. And the call is for all of us to go out and vote. That vote will change. So please come out. Let's all go to vote on the 9th of August on Tuesday. For now is to thank you so much for tuning in and wish you a very lovely morning to all who are online. But those in the room, we have a bit of in-house business to take care of. So thank you so much. Oh yes, please. Moses, please help. Please, after the picture, don't go. We have tea. Please make sure you take a cup of tea and snacks. And then pass by the registration desk. You'll be given a voucher. And then you can come back for lunch whenever you're ready. Between 12:30 and 2.